returns, players returning, Jadon Sancho is back. The return of Sancho. What are you saying, Neeks? Do you think he's going to come back with a bang? Do you think he's going to have a Rashford-style resurgence, or are you not that optimistic?
I don't want to get too excited in it because we know we're Man United excited. The bad results are just around the corner. But no, you know what? I'm excited about this. And it's not even just the Sancho alone, him coming back, because we're not in a situation now where it's like, oh my God, we need Sancho, because if we don't, we're not going to get top four. We're not going to win a trophy. Right now, Sancho would definitely help. We know we want signings. We're not going to get them in this January, but having another option, not to use a phrase, but it's like a new signing, because he's played a few games at the start of the season, hasn't been about from before the World Cup up until now. Last season, he wasn't great either. He had a few games that he played well. So we haven't actually really got the guy that we bought. So if he ever does turn up, it's like, oh, we've actually got another option. We've actually got a player. And when you've got Rashford performing in the way that he is, I'm content with the way Antony has been. He hasn't hit high heights, but in 6 months of what he's done, I'm cool with that. I know he's going to get better. Garnacho's coming from the academy, and he's done well. Pelestri's looked good the last 2 games that he's played. So having another out wide in the forward positions can only be good for us. And I hope he looks a bit slimmer and trimmer from before the World Cup to now. I hope that up there his mind's clear, his mind's set. Because if we got that working up there, then I think what he can produce on the field in terms of the options and for Ten Hag, the way that we're playing, it can only be a benefit. And I think having those options, Garnacho coming through, Pelestri, Sancho, Ahmad just won EFL Player of the Month, PFA Player of the Month. You have those options that pushes the other players to higher heights. Rashford, like one of the best players in the world right now, in form since the World Cup. If he has to fight to make sure he keeps his position because Sancho's performing and Garnacho's performing, that can only be a benefit. So we've got 2 games, Reading, Nottingham Forest, where you kind of should be winning both of them with ease. I want to see Sancho in both of those games. So I'm looking forward to it.
I hear you. Nobbins, obviously, Sancho come through your academy at City. He's not had the best start to life at United. A few good performances, but that's been about it. Do you think there's hope for him returning back to his best, or do you think this could be a full storm for United?
There's always a possibility. I don't really know what's happened with Sancho. I think there was a question mark of whether he was having some mental health issues this season. So, because I know he deleted all his social media at one point, so you'd like to think that he's got help and he's now put that behind him. So I do hope he's all right. And yeah, it's a shame because I think this season I predicted him to be the most improved player this season. I think he struggled in his first season, but that was adapting from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, and he sort of let me down in that respect of not coming through this season as much. As I say, maybe there's mitigating circumstances. My only fear, if I was a Sancho fan, a United fan, would be that in my view, the best form of Sancho was Dortmund Sancho, and the best form of Dortmund Sancho was Sancho on the left wing. And Marcus Rashford has nailed down that position quite comfortably. Sancho off the right isn't as effective. So the only concern would be Rashford is basically undroppable at this point, bar like an injury or something. So I just wonder, is there going to be that much opportunity for him to feature that much this season with Rashford in the form he's in? Because Rashford, again, in my opinion, isn't as effective centrally or on the right. You need to play him on the left. And that creates a bit of an issue because I don't think Sancho was brought to be more of a rotational squad player. I'm assuming he was brought in to start consistently. But I think everyone's been taken aback by how amazing Rashford's been this season, myself included. So there definitely is a redemption arc in Sancho, 100%. But the fact that Sancho's, for me, his best performances were on the left. He can play on the right, but his best performances were on the left. Means that the existence of Rashford is going to make it very tricky for him to do that.
What are you saying, Premsy? Because obviously, as a Gooner, most Gooners have a bit of an issue with Sancho and Antony and Rashford. Like very little nice words to say about them or encouragement. And I get it, you're rivals, but what's your take on Sancho's return? Will he come back with a bit between his teeth, or will he just fizzle away like a wet old fart?
Do you know what? I don't really have much bad words to say about him at the end of the day. I think if anyone's to get the best out of him, it's going to be Ten Hag. You've seen Ten Hag get the best out of players like Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, bring in Marcus Rashford from the dust. So I think he's got to settle back into the squad, and there's no reason why he won't be able to take Antony's place if he hits the ground running, because for me, Antony, I'm just saying it as I see it, I don't think he's worth 90 million. I think he can't use his right foot. I understand players need a season or so to settle in the Premier League because it's a different league. But at the same time, he's played under Ten Hag before in his Ajax team, and you would expect him to understand his style of play by now. He can't take anyone on the outside, and it limits Manchester United to a certain extent, where if Sancho come in, Ten Hag can get the best out of him. There's an option for him to come and slot right back in on the right-hand side and maybe get something different up front with United. But obviously, if he has gone through mental health issues, then obviously wish him the best of luck. Obviously, I've dealt with depression and stuff like that myself, so I know what it can be. Somebody put in the comments before, how can you be having mental health issues, being on 350k a week? Doesn't matter how much money you have, you get me? It depends on the situation that you're in at the moment in time. So you got to give him an opportunity. He came with a lot of promise to United. He hasn't filled that potential, but at the same time, there is a player in him. You just got to find the right manager to get the best out of him, and I think Ten Hag can do it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think
the Antony one is interesting because, and I take both of your points on it. Is that he wasn't worth 80, 90 million that we spent, because that wasn't even the price of him before the transfer window. We paid it because we ended up desperate at the end because our transfer strategy was a mess. But the fact that Ten Hag pushed for him, and obviously he's played under him before, that might limit Sancho. Now the question is, how stubborn is Ten Hag going to be? I don't have a big issue with how Antony's played. There are a lot of things that he can work on. The fact that he doesn't use his right foot is nothing to do with how much it costs or it's a new league. Like, you haven't got the right foot or you don't. But Ten Hag has to make Antony work because he pushed for him right up until the end of the transfer window. Does that then limit whether Sancho gets the opportunities that maybe he deserves, or Antony gets dropped when he should get dropped because Ten Hag has to make it work? So that's going to be interesting dynamic in itself. As it stands,
the club brought Sancho in for big money as well, innit? So
yeah, the club, not Ten Hag.
Yeah,
and the people that brought him in, they may not even be here in 6 months.
Well, the people that brought him in are gone. I mean, Woodward isn't here anymore. Like, the people that
Mercer.
Yeah, but this is the problem you've got when you've had failed projects, is that you end up with these huge assets that you pay for that may not figure. And the reason that he's been sent away, the difference between Antony and Jadon Sancho has been, Antony's got issues going on the outside, but the rest of his game, the way he tracks back, the way he gets involved, the defensive work, the build-up play, he keeps the shape of the team. Those things are so important, but so often fans want to ignore them. Ten Hag's issue with Sancho wasn't that he couldn't create, wasn't that he scored a few important goals early in the season. It was the rest of his work outside of it. And he essentially told him, I know you're not choosing not to track back. You physically can't do it for 90 minutes and you need to. So this is on Sancho for me. Come back, do all the hard bits, that, you know, the hard, gritty, sort of unkind of spectacular bits that you see Antony do, that you see Rashford do, and then deliver at the other end. And I don't think he will be stubborn as a manager, because if we're winning and we're growing further and further up the league, no one's going to care what Antony's doing to a certain degree. Rival fans will pick up on it, but if Man United this time next year are sitting top of the league, we've won a few trophies, we're playing brilliant, who cares how much players cost? I certainly don't. Like, it's never been an issue in my eyes. So I just want to see Sancho come back and do his bits. On the mental health stuff, listen, he's not on 350 grand a week. It's 250. There are bonuses included. That's part of the reason why these footballers do get mentally ill, because they get abused online for things that aren't even fucking true. Like, that's the maddest part about it. A 350 a week's a madness. Well, yeah, it is. That's why he's not on it. Like, do some research. On Rashford, though, I want to ask a question before we move away from Man United. Why is this triggering so many people? Why are so many people angry about this celebration? I've seen threads from anyone and everyone showing it isn't his celebration, so he shouldn't be doing it, or it shouldn't be called the Rashford celebration. Why is that?
people have nothing better to do. And people just like to smoke. No, I'm not even trying to take the mick. There are people out there who literally have nothing better to do rather than just get angry about silly little things. Like,
I saw it trending, and then I did a bit of research because I'm anal about this stuff. Question for you all: who invented the holding your shirt celebration? Or who?
Well, I know it wasn't Messi. Messi kind of popular.
Who's the guy that you associated with?
Messi.
Was
it Fekir who did it? Fekir do it first?
The first guy that did it was in 2009.
Oh,
Janino.
2009 it was done, so it's not Messi celebration. Who is the guy that's famous for knee sliding? And what year was it, Premzy?
Thierry Henry, mate.
What year was it, Premzy?
2004.
2004. Just 5 years after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did it. His league final. And that's not a dig at Henry. This is it. I know other people are pointing to the head, but it's Rashford's celebration because he's made it iconic.
This is the internet for you, though, Terry, man. Everyone just loves to be keyboard warriors and chat shit in it. This is what the life's come to, man. And it is what it is. I think, obviously, Arsenal fans were probably a little bit rattled because he did it in front of the Arsenal fans. He ran over to the corner flag and did that celebration. And you know what? Credit to Saka. He did the exact same thing and we won the game. So happy days. But you just got to take it. At the end of the day, you score in it. You do what you're doing in it.
I get it. It's just petty. And I'm being petty.
Can I just say?
No, I just want to say one more thing. Lobbins. Who invented the moonwalk?
Well, you want me to say Michael Jackson? So I'm sure someone else did it.
Yeah, it was. You all heard of Jeffrey Daniel? Jeffrey Daniel invented it and taught it to Michael Jackson. He was part of an R&B group called, I think they were called Shamala or Shamamar or something like this. It's like, it's not about who invents it. It's about who makes it iconic at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? I was going to give an Elvis example, but that will trigger people. But there we go. It's crazy. Sorry, you going to say something, Neeks?
No, I'm going to say credit to Arsenal fans because I've looked back at when Rashford did celebration, and in the past, fans would have been throwing stuff and getting angry, and I didn't really see that. I think they just kind of, all right, he scored, well done. Because like the week before, when what's his name, Ramsdale celebrated in front of the Spurs fans, he bloody got a kick. So I thought, well, you know, Arsenal fans, they're a bit more calmer now.
Too far away from the pitch, otherwise somebody would have got looking at it.
That's fine.
This is what I love hearing. Terry trying to police banter again. The problem is, bro, this is the maddest bit about it. When I see some people tweet stuff, I can see it's banter. But when people are like capital letters and like red-faced emojis, they're angry about it. Like they're not bantering when they're literally spending 5 hours finding pictures of people that have done this before. And the crazy part about it is none of them do it how Rashford does it, where he runs and stops and then does it. So it's a madness to me. I just thought it was funny. But there we go.